Welcome to the unspoken truths of digital leadership, living the leadership values. Our guests will talk about the unspoken truths of leadership, the values, the dark side and the learnings from dealing with conflict with integrity. Discover how they lead more effectively, how they make decisions, how they live their leadership values, and how they deal with the consequences that happen because of the decisions that they make. I am John O'Poon. I will be your host of the show. Please note that there may be explicit language used during the interview. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of Unspoken Truths of Digital Leadership. Our guest will talk about the unspoken truths of leadership, the dark side, and the learnings from dealing with conflict with integrity. And today I have a special guest that I'm grateful to have, and I get to call as my mentor, William Whitecloud. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Jonah. Good to see you. Sorry it's in this medium, across the oceans. I think we were meant to catch up. We had a plan to catch up in London, and then the lockdown happened, and I never got to London. But anyway, here we are.
Yes. That was a shame. We was going to catch up when you was having your workshop in London.
Yeah, that's right.
So for those that don't know William, I trained with William a few years back in South Africa and in London on super consciousness and self-awareness. And it's pretty much, I would say, the course that changed my life completely. And everything from then on, knowing myself, knowing my truth, and creating what I've been creating throughout this past few years is because I've been studying and using the premises that I learned from William. So I'm very privileged and grateful that William is on here to be able to share more wisdom. William, would you be able to tell us more about yourself?
Well, thanks for that introduction. It's a huge honor to hear you say that. And you know me pretty well, right? Because you've been to my homeland. You actually been on the farm that I grew up in Africa, and we've done a lot of work together, hung out a lot together. And as what my work is about is I would style it as creative development, really, rather than spiritual development or personal development or business development. It's just a unique category, what the work that I'm involved in, and basically what it means. And my business is called Natural Success, because if you understand creativity and you look at the levels of creativity, and they're roughly delineated something like this. There isn't a massive standardization yet, although it is now becoming a very big subject in universities. I mean, I've got friends who are creativity professors, in the strict sense of the word as I apply it, right? And if you look at the delineations, you get like unskilled imitation, skilled imitation, low-level derivative, high-level derivative, innovative, inventive, and genius, right? And it kind of sounds really arcane, but it's really simple and down to earth. The higher your level of creativity, it's observable, it's provable, it's self-evident that the higher your level of creativity, then the more naturally successful you're going to be in whatever you're involved in. And if you learn it, you learn it as a skill and as a mastery, well, then you would apply it, and you do apply it to every area of your life, so that you can, be strategically successful in love or in work, in entrepreneurialism, in business, in leadership, right? Whatever you apply it to, And also, if you look at those delineations, if you look at imitation, derivative, innovative, inventive, genius, what does it say? Just think about it. It's just saying straight out that the more inwardly referenced you are, the more the more genius you are, the more high level creative you are, where you're culminating, well, where you're starting in unskilled imitation. And by the way, they're actually lower categories than delineations than unskilled imitation. But I don't like to bore people with arcane, titles and that. So, but if you start just at imitation, you're borrowing from what's outside of yourself, right? You're taking, like what you do is based on what you copy from outside of yourself. And then, derivative now is where you mix in, derivative, you're deriving something, but you also got something of yourself in there. And then once you get into innovative, inventive, and genius, particularly genius, then you're wholly self-referenced in your approach to anything, and so you've learned a lot of this work and a lot of these skills, which is to become self-referenced and know from yourself, from within, because we all know, we all have it in us. We do. We have genius. We have creative spirit. It's in us, right? And it gets the hell knocked out of us through our societal, upbringing, and not just in the home, not just in school, everywhere. Everyone has a crack at us to knock the stuffing out of us and leave us with a sense that we don't know for ourselves. And like particularly nowadays, it's just amazing how there are workshops for everything, people, seminars just for everything, to teach you every bloody thing, how to do everything, what the formulas are. And there's that it's just really no real self-reliance on what's, within us, because, the geniuses that everyone's copying, those geniuses aren't copying anyone else. That's what makes them genius, right? So anyway, I mean, I can get carried away here talking about this, but basically that's what I do, and that's what my work revolves around, and
How did you get into this work?
Well, you don't want me to get started on that question either. So I'm gonna save you, and you guys and gals and whoever's listening here. I'm gonna save you a long, sad, sorry story. But basically, I had an experience of a very bad experience in my life, which lasted a long time. I suffered a lot, and it really brought me to my deathbed. And the thing with that is that no one could help me with that. And I saw every specialist and every clinician and witch doctor and alternative healer, and nobody. I mean, it's rare, because normally you go and see people and everyone knows what's wrong with you. It's just straight away. It's like they know, they think they know. But with me it was really weird. Nobody knew. They just over this long period of time, I just got sicker and sicker and sicker. And anyway, long story short, end up on my deathbed. And then I had this experience where right at the end, right when I'm just ready to check out, and I'm virtually getting deathbed counseling, whatever, I met someone in a park, just sitting there, unable to do anything, sitting there. And I met someone in the park who said, "I know what's wrong with you," And anyway, again, this is a long story short. They proceeded to tell me what was wrong with me based on and based on that they had it, and they told me what it was like, what the symptoms were, what the experience was, all of that. And when they told me that, I really believed them, which I've come to learn now is an important skill, or ability, is when you are recruiting anybody, enrolling anybody, is that that you understand them, right? And this person understood me, right, like nobody else had before. So he had my attention. Then he also told me that he had cured himself and that he could give me the cure. And so I was very eager to hear what the cure was, because this was a fit, healthy man, right? And I believed him because of everything he told me. So then he told me that what the cure was everything I'd given away and was told would kill me. And he said, you must because he knew that I'd given up drinking and meat and coffee and smoking and everything. And he said, what you got to do is you got to smoke a few cigarettes every day. You must have a few coffees every day. You must you must eat steak every day, and you must have white wine, not red wine, white wine with the steak. And it was just like madness. But I had nothing to lose, so I gave it a go. And also there was something, I trusted him because of how I related to him. You see, and believed him. And I gave it a go, and I got better very quickly. And it was a remarkable situation. It was a remarkable long-term illness, and it was a remarkable story of meeting this person who told me this weird cure. I tried it, and I got better very quickly. Against all alternative, holistic medical advice. These were the things that were supposed to kill me, right? And I ingested them, got better really quickly, and it made a phenomenal impression on me because of that whole time and experience and what I went through. And I fully expected to die. I never dreamed that I was actually going to get better, and I'd given up on anything. And so this happened to me, and then something dawned on me. And it wasn't that, it wasn't like, wow, yeah, actually meat's really good and wine's really good and smoking's good and coffee's good. I didn't just turn around and become an advocate of eating meat and, drinking coffee and smoking and drinking alcohol. What occurred to me was that it had nothing to do with what I did, but what I thought, you see. So like for 10 long years, I'd been totally focused on that I was sick and trying not to be sick, and then that I was dying and trying not to die, and then I was dying, and it was my whole focus was and then when I met this guy, I realized that what that caused me to do was just go, screw it, It wasn't something, oh, here's hope. I can eat meat and get better. It was just like, screw it. And I stopped paying attention in that way, and I got better. And then I just realized, I had a realization that I didn't understand, but that I was aware of mine. I went, there must be some way in which I pay attention that causes my experiences, causes how it goes for me in life, and I was just absolutely convinced of that. And, I had never done any personal development work or, spiritual development work or any, I didn't know it. In fact, I didn't know it existed. And then that's the God honest truth, where I came from. If you had a problem, you just, had a drink and chatted to someone, over a drunken, night and got it out of your system. That was like healing where I came from, So I didn't know. And so I had this realization, and I didn't know how it worked, but I wanted to know. I mean, I was lit up. I mean, I've never lost the fire, I was just absolutely lit up. It happened 25 years ago. And I was just on fire. I was lit up, and I was absolutely intent and committed on finding out how this worked. And so I did, and I kind of been finding out for the last 25 years. I think I'm kind of running out of finding out by now. It's kind of like I think about 5 years ago or so, I sort of found the last pieces of all of the puzzle that I've been looking for. So I feel like I've got a very complete picture now. But it doesn't mean you don't come up with new processes and ways, understandings and processes and all of that. But I mean that's what got me into all of this, right? And here I am.
I think that was very similar. Last 5 years ago was when I started, so I was fortunate to have your last pieces of puzzles.
Sorry, what was that? You said what?
I think that was the same time as when I joined, so I probably have got your last pieces of puzzles as well.
Yeah, well, you got all of the, not only the last pieces, all of the pieces.
That's true. Okay, what was, if you was to share about your thought process, I guess, during this last 25 years of finding the truth, of your truth, or what you're searching for, how did you deal with the obstacles and we call the self-sabotage that we talk about when we're going for what we want?
Oh, look, I mean that's a good question, and I have a lot of self-sabotage. I'm not a fantastically healthy model of a human being. I'm very flawed. I'm very damaged. I had a lot of problems in my life. I grew up with a father who really intellectually shamed me. So I was very intellectually challenged. I didn't finish school. I had a lot of substance abuse issues and all of that, and spent time in recovery and all of that. So I'm a person that isn't kind of like an alpha human being, right? So I'm very prone to challenges, obstacles, resistance, weaknesses, right? Dysfunction. But then again, I think it kind of like also on the other hand qualifies me, because I've had a lot to work with, and so I don't just preach. I can talk deeply from my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a lot of challenges from 25 years ago. It's not like I saw the light, and from then till now I've just been sailing plainly. I've had a lot of issues and a lot of challenges on the way, but one thing I will credit myself with is that I always go forward, and I always grow, and I always expand, and I always learned. And I think you call it momentum.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had momentum. I've maybe I've gone steps forward and one step back, but then two steps forward always again. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm always growing. I've always grown. I'll give myself that. I'll acknowledge myself for that. For always growing, for always learning, for always moving forward, for always improving, for always enriching myself, and doing I think just doing a better and better job as a human being. And honestly, that I can point to what that's down to, and it's down to a purpose, and it might sound corny, but that's what does it for me, and I encourage it in others, and it seems to work with them. But I'll just speak for myself. That's what does it for me, is what when I made my realization, and I started learning about how your focus creates your reality, and there's a deeper level to that. There's a deeper level to that, because at the end of the day, you kind of like, as I see it and as I put it, it's just my premise is that you have you have a personality, you have an identity, you have a shadow side of you that's a collection of limiting beliefs, and as someone once said, Ken Wilber, said, the ego is just a collection of insults and bruises, and so you got this bruised, insulted, limited side of defensive survival, limited side of yourself, and then you have this, infinitely powerful, creative, natural ability, and ultimately, I was talking about paying attention and how you go depending on how you pay attention. But ultimately, the ultimate is which side of yourself you're going to pay attention to. Which side of yourself you're going to give the power to. Never mind what you're going to pay attention to in terms of what you go for and what you create. I mean, I think that's terribly important. But I'm talking about ultimately, the ultimate is which side of yourself you're going to give the power to, and invest in. And so I learned that, and I learned the benefit. And for me, it became a life purpose. It was just, this is my life purpose. This is my life purpose, and recognized it as my life purpose and owned it as my life purpose to first of all, learn more about it and practice it as best as I can. But then to serve others, enable others in the same realizations and the same practice and ability and self, mastery and self empowerment for their personal enrichment, and then, for the enrichment of the planet. And I went, getting this knowledge out is my purpose. And that's it. And I claimed that, I owned it. It's, I don't know what you'd call it. It's a value or something like that. But for me, it's the meaning of my life. That's the meaning of my life. So I'll get married, and I'll have married troubles, and I'll have, create businesses, and they'll go well, and then they won't go well, and whatever. I'll get sick and I'll get well, and I'll be doing fantastically. I'll feel like doing something, I won't feel like doing. I'll be inspired, I'll be uninspired. The pendulum swings. Up, you're down. You're fabulous. You're shit. Whatever. But it's just like this. The meaning of my life, the purpose, is there, and it's like my dog. My dog. It wants 2 hours of walks a day and being out and things. And so come in the afternoon when it's time for the second one, it just sits there and stares at me. It doesn't have to say anything because it can't say anything. It just stares at me, right? It just positions itself there and just looks at me. And the tension in me builds and builds. Okay, bloody hell, let's go to the park. That's it, right? And that's the thing with the meaning of my life, with the purpose of my life. It doesn't matter, how I feel or what I prefer, or if I'm in shame, or if I'm in, high honor, or whatever it is. There's this purpose. There's this meaning of my life. There's this purpose, like that dog just looking at me, and it's like, okay, all right, we'll write the next book. Okay, around Christ. Okay, whatever it is. And, as I said, I'm a very flawed person and have a lot of problems and difficulties. And I'm not the most motivated person. I'm a lazy person. I'm an insecure person.
But that goes for...
And without that, I most probably... without that, I'd most probably... Sorry, my computer's gone crazy here. Without that, I'd fall back. It's like if my dog didn't come and sit there and look at me like that, I wouldn't take it for a walk most probably many evenings, right? But I'm telling you that it's just something that just keeps me going and rolling over. It's like an inner tension, and I don't mean a stress, but it's just this thing that a compulsion, always a compulsion to move forward, and that's what keeps me going, right?
So it's having that drive and knowing what makes you get up every day.
Well, for me, it is, and it is. It never stops. But like that. That's the thing, you see, and it's what I teach is that if you look at momentum, if you're interested in momentum, and you look at movement, right? There's something either flows or it's stuck or it's oscillates, so it moves, just continually moves, right? And or if it oscillates, it goes backwards and forwards, or it's just stuck, right? And that's what you'll see with people in areas of their life or at times of their life or whatever. It's a those are the basic behavioral momentum dynamics, right? Is you're flowing, you're stuck, and you're oscillating, right? Or you're oscillating, right? You're flowing, you're stuck, or you're oscillating, and you see what happens with what we know creates flow is when somebody loves something, when it inherently means something to them, that it intrinsically means something to them, and they connect with that and they recognize that. Like I've got relatives, on my wife's side of the family mainly, that they're gardeners, and that there was a book, The Constant Gardener. But just that title, these people are constant gardeners, and their gardens are beautiful. They never stop gardening. As soon as it's this season, they're doing this, and as soon as that season, they're doing that, and as soon as this grows, they clip this and they prune that, and they, plant that, and those gardens they're constant gardeners. You never can see them stop gardening, and they're always out there. I have a garden, and that thing will just die, I mean, sorry, but these people, they love it, right? And you can never, if you take them on holiday away to the best holiday, take them to the Mediterranean, to the Riviera, they'll halfway through the holiday be going, oh gee, I wonder how my garden's doing, like, right? They want to get back to their garden, they love it, right? And that's it, you can't stop love when you connect with something that's truly, honestly meaningful to you. And you see, the thing is that what people mustn't confuse is that love necessarily means you always enjoy it. You always you like doing it and all of that, right? You love it. It's like when you have a child, you love that child, but Jesus, sometimes it's not fun, hey, right? But you'll always love that child, and you'll always, be your best human that you can be. You might fail, but you will try, and you'll always try, and you'll die loving that child. So love is just such an important value again, Whereas what you see with negative vision and people that are stuck or have or oscillate, that they have negative vision, and which means that what they're involved in is motivated really, or they might deny it in that, but if you analyze and deconstruct it, the honest truth is that what they're motivated is by what they want to get away from. What they're going for isn't something they really love. They're actually, more importantly, trying to get away from something. And you see, the problem with that is it's not the right motivation, particularly when they don't feel the heat. Then they stop taking the action, and so that's it, and that's a very important ingredient, is I think one of the most important things in becoming a very powerful human being is knowing yourself and know what you are motivated by is to get away from stuff, and what you fear and what you're insecure about and incomplete about, and give up on that and find out what is truly meaningful to you and what truly matters to you, and get involved in that. And that is the perpetual motion. That is the discovery of perpetual motion.
I'm always like fascinated whenever you're going into your deep dives. Okay, let me ask you this one. Was for people that are choosing to lead their own lives or want to make a difference, loving what they do, what would you suggest to them to look in for if they're stuck, they're looking for what they love to do, or there's going through that motion of of that endless loop where they're trying something, it doesn't work, or they're making decisions, but they have setbacks. And for yourself, you said you moved 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but you're still moving forwards.
Yeah.
But there's people that would knock themselves back or have a setback and just stay back. How would you, advise them to what would you advise them to do in order to have that momentum step, or at least moving forwards instead of backwards?
Well, you see, the work that I do is a process, right? So there's not a thing that people do, right? There's not a thing that people do. But what our work involves is showing a person that what occurs in their life is actually something that they're creating. They creating that, you see. So like that experience that I explained to you about, where I was very sick, and that was the big breakthrough I had. I didn't at the beginning fully understand it, but that was my first light bulb. I'm creating this. It's me. It wasn't like this. Like I've caught something, and some nasty thing got hold of me, and poor me, the doctors, like whatever it is. This is like I'm a victim, which I thought I was. I thought for those horrible 10 years, I thought I was a victim. But my light bulb moment was, I'm not a victim. I don't know how I'm doing it, but somehow I'm creating this. It involves me somehow,
Mm-hmm.
And I do something different, and I have a different experience. So you see the thing that what we do through the course of the work that I do, that what you're introducing to people to and demonstrating to them and proving to them is that they're creating whatever's going on. They're creating it, and that's a masterful thing. It's even if you're creating terrible stuff, I mean, it's amazing that you're creating that. If you're creating that, well, that's a hell of a creation, and you are, because belief creates reality, and it reinforces belief. You see, and it's based on what you believe, right? And you can very quickly show a person a linkage between what they believe and then what is occurring in their life, you see. And it's more importantly, it's like what they're paying attention to, and then what that, the corresponding causal effect of that and resultant effect of that of what that creates. So you see, the thing is really is, I think it's just terribly important to know yourself, right?
Mm.
Is to I mean, it all hinges on self-awareness, right? It's know yourself. Get I mean, it's not difficult. There's a lot of different work that shows you, that can show you that you have patterns of experience that nobody else has. It's just you. You see the way of the world a certain way, you experience it a certain way, and the person sitting right next to you doesn't see it that way, doesn't have that experience. Maybe they have other things, but it's very easy to be shown and allow yourself to be shown, who you are, where you're coming from, what you pay attention to, and the patterns of experience that you create, and that it's you creating them, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's very easy. I mean, we find it very easy to demonstrate that to people, and then from there, you see, you go, okay, well, so if I create that, well, I'd love to create something else, and then there's the knowledge, and there's the techniques and ways of focus and paying attention and taking action and behavior, really, that will change the reality that you experience. You can change your experience. Absolutely. You can change your experience. You can change your circumstances. You can change everything. It's arising out of you. So, I mean, it's not like, well, my friend, just do this and you will, change. But here's what it is. It's be interested to take responsibility for yourself. Be interested with the idea that you're responsible. Look, however your life is, it's because of you. I promise you that. Look, if you're a child and you're subject to your parents and all that, okay, I later in life, I'll still show you how you created what you created in childhood. But let's just say, okay, fair enough. You're a child. You can't be the predominant force in your own life, creative force in your own life. Let's just argue that, yeah, okay, you're right. But once you're grown up, you're the creator of what you're creating. And you see, if you want to be a victim, well, then, victimhood is the easiest thing to create, because you don't have to do anything, right? Just keep going as you are, right? But if you want to grow, be empowered, become a self-masterful individual, who can rise to their potential, right? And the potential in every human being is considerable. I think the duddest human being on earth is a bloody amazing person, right? If we could say that, if we could select and find the duddest person on earth, you'd still find in truth that they're an amazing person, right? So if you want to improve yourself, live life as an expression of your highest potential, all that, but then that's what you must do. You must become interested in that. You must become interested in learning about yourself, and your patterns of experience, your patterns of behavior, your patterns of belief, and how you pay attention and all that, and be willing and responsible to see what it creates, like from there, then it's a very easy step from there to become a masterful creator, who then creates the circumstances of their preferences.
I'm glad you
people believe that they're the victim of their circumstances. They don't realize that they're the creators of their circumstances.
What I'm grinning for is and I'm glad you said that. You said be willing to take interest in your and accept your own behaviors. Was because when I first initially took your work, was the same thing. It was like, that can't be me.
Yeah.
That's not me. I was in denial of myself, and I think that's what most people would be, if they're not, have never been aware of this work or been in touch with this kind of work. They would be in denial of, and denial of responsibility of their own behaviors and experiences. I would say that because I was there and I've experienced it myself, and I was also in the same position where I was in denial of responsibility. I was like, that's not me. That's not how I deal with things. But
yeah, you see, I'll tell you something really interesting. You see, what people do to argue things, right, is they take things in isolation. They take things randomly.
Mm-hmm.
So they go, say they come to a workshop of mine late, and they say, I catch the bus to your workshop thing, and the bus didn't run today. It just didn't come. It didn't show up. That's not my fault. How can you say I created that? The bus didn't come today, right? And so then, now I'm late to the workshop because then I had to get an Uber and blah, 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 blah. I got a story, right? So there, William, I'm late because the bus didn't even run today. And normally it comes at 8 o'clock every day, and I get on and think, and today it didn't even come. It wasn't even late. It didn't even come. So I only worked out by lunchtime that it's not coming, and then I caught an Uber and that. So they say, so there you go. I'm not responsible. But you see, this is that when we analyze a person and deconstruct, take examples of every time they failed, let's call it, and they didn't get what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going for something and they didn't get it. They wanted a job. They didn't get a job. They wanted to be at a workshop on a particular time. They didn't make it there on time. Every time, for argument's sake, we're going to call that failing. Every time they fail, we go, give me 5, 6, 10 examples of every time you fail. Guess what we're going to find? The bus doesn't come in every one of those stories. It might be a bus in that story, a something else in that story, but in every story, at exactly the same point, the letdown happens. That letdown, you see. So you go 10 times, 20 times. We could do this 50 times. We're going to find the same thing. That exactly the same things happen through every story, exactly the same steps. And let's say at number 7, the bus doesn't come. Right? So it's not random.
So there's a pattern that willing.
Huh?
There's a pattern that they're willing to.
It's not random. This goes very deep, and it's not. It's really not the subject matter of a short conversation like this. It goes very deep, but you see, you can profoundly reveal how a person's creating everything that's going on in their lives, right? You can profoundly reveal that, and we're not sitting around smoking crack and coming up with it. It's really real and true. You can deconstruct this stuff and you can really see, and you go, oh, right. I always miss the bus. It's not random. The missing the bus story always happens. Not random. That wasn't random. That always happens. It happens at that time thing, right? So, but that's what people do, because they see their lives as just random incidents and all that, and it's not. It's very organized. It's very orchestrated. Failure is orchestrated. Success is orchestrated, and that's the name of the game. Is orchestrating success.
Wow, I like that.
It is.
How would you deal with making poor decisions? I wouldn't say making poor decisions, but what would you do when you make a decision but you regret it? And how would you deal with those kind of decisions? Especially in a position when you're leading a workshop, when people, and especially in your kind of workshop, is when people are self-sabotaging themselves or going through we say, the dark side or the shadow self work.
No, but yeah, that's an interesting question, and it's not unrelated to what we just talked about, where I said you orchestrate failure or you orchestrate success. So the name of the game is to start orchestrating success. And you see, what I learned about facilitation and leadership, right? And I think it's leadership of anything, but I lead workshops mainly a lot, but I lead businesses and I lead all sorts of things, right? I lead safaris, and I'm often in a leadership position, maybe humble compared to some leaders. I'm not Nelson Mandela or
servant leadership, William.
But you see, the thing is, it's all about it's just all about structure, and it's all about being orientated, and it's all about keeping other people orientated, and the thing is always is knowing where you are, where you're going, right? Know where you're going, and make sure everyone else knows where we're going, right? So we all know where we're going. And you see, as the leader, your job really more than anyone else is to know where you're going. And it's also to impart that to everyone else, so that everyone, impart that clarity and the agreement as well. Like we agree, this is where we're going, and we agree on that, and we understand that, and this is where we're going, right? And so that's your job as a leader, is to establish that. But then it's also your job as a leader to know where you is to know where you are in where you're going, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem that will arise behaviorally, systematically, whatever, will be where people don't know where they're going and they don't know where they are. And as a leader, often people don't know where they are, and they go off and they go off track, basically. That's the way I see it. It's structural. Everything is, there's a track to you're going, and this is the track. And problems that arise are because we've gone off track. I myself go off track, and people I lead go off track. So what I've got to do as a leader is have that discipline for myself, is to recognize what's happened, how I've gone off track. And I must admit that. And I must own that. And I must go back to where we're going and where are we, and bring myself back on track. And where someone else has gone off track, I must help them see that they have gone off track, bring them back on track, and the problem's over, right? And that's another thing I teach, though, in the advanced work, is that leadership through structure and knowing what your structure is, right? And you will have very limited problems, and you'll have very manageable problems if you're able to work with that kind of clarity and structure.
Wow, awesome.
It is. It is.
It's powerful.
It is. And people acknowledge me for my leadership, for my facilitation. They go, "Wow, William, you're very good. You're brilliant. You're brilliant in your clarity. You're brilliant in your boundaries. You're brilliant in, because they watch me and they just see me keep the ship straight, right? And I can keep the ship straight because I know where I am. I know where we're going. I've communicated that to everyone. And, nobody's offended. Everyone respects when I point out that now we're going down a path that's not what we're involved in. It's not what we're about, what we're doing. And I bring them back. They go, oh, okay.
Yeah, I back that because I've been in it. I've just watched you for a few years doing that, facilitating all the different workshops that you have done, and it's just a masterpiece to watch. It's one that I aspire to bring out into my own world. But
it's a beautiful thing, it's a beautiful thing.
Right, okay, brilliant. Thank you, William. I really appreciate your wisdom. If people wanted to find out more about your work, where could they go to?
Well, thanks for the conversation, right? I've really enjoyed it. Lovely to hang out with you and talk. I can do that easily. So it's been very nice to catch up and hang out with you. Thanks for the opportunity, hey, and thanks to everyone who's been listening for listening. I kind of been a bit absorbed by you. Normally, I sort of give some energy to everybody else, but because of our relationship, I'm just so deeply in conversation with you. So apologies to everyone there that I've been kind of neglecting you all. But thanks for listening. And if anyone's interested further, my website. If you Google William Whitecloud, you're going to get to my website, but it's technically naturalsuccessacademy.com, naturalsuccessacademy.com. And also, you did say that I could give this is my latest book. It doesn't look latest because it's very beaten up in that, but that's poor book. I mean, it's been on safaris in Africa by now and Australian outback, and now I'm in the Sierra Mountains up in the Californian highlands and all that. So this book's seen some action, but it's my latest book, Secrets of Natural Success. And, it is an absolutely, succinct description of the natural success, principle and methods, etc.
I'll make sure to put the link in the comments as well.
Yeah, please do. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, William, and I will speak to you soon. I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode with William Whitecloud, my mentor. I'm very blessed and grateful that I've got to hang out with him and to have this interview and share the work that he does, because it's definitely changed my life through the past few years, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this podcast wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if it wasn't for the work that I've studied under William. So thank you again, William, so much.
Thanks, and keep doing what you're doing, mate. Lots of love to everybody, hey?
Thank you for listening to the Unspoken Truths of Digital Leadership. I hope you found this interview insightful and useful. Please remember to subscribe and review the podcast. And if you have found it useful, please feel free to send it and share it to your network, as I will be very appreciative that it will spread and help out more people in the world. If you would like more information or the show notes and resources that I will be providing you, then please go to www.johnopun.com, go to the blog and find the podcast section. Step up, show up, and stay up. Take care.